Hi, my name is Lauren Riggleman, and I am a second-year Communication Sciences and Disorders major. Today, I'm going to be talking about my project, Attempts at Subject Pronouns Across Assessments in Preschoolers. This project is about pronoun use in preschoolers. I was working on previously collected data in my advisor's lab, and it made me begin to wonder about why children were making case errors and if there's a pattern that followed from the spontaneous sample data I was looking at to the formal assessment data. I was wondering if the children were more likely to avoid using pronouns in the formal assessment due to knowing that they were being tested. The third person subject pronouns in English are he, she, and they. Case errors are when an object pronoun is used in place of a subject pronoun. For example, him go to school or her is the best. I will play a video demonstrating this so that you can hear what it sounds like when other terms used throughout this presentation are spontaneous language sample, formal assessment, and lexical noun phrase. In a spontaneous language sample,
Oh, I hope she didn't eat them.
collected in a play setting,
But her was
playing
trying,
action figures.
but I stopped
A
her.
formal assessment is
Her
a scored
was
assessment
showing me
looking for
instead.
specific answers
She was chewing
like
you
the
instead?
GRE or
Yeah,
ACT.
I said, eat me all up.
Lexical noun phrase
Oh, yeah?
is using a noun in place
Yes.
of a pronoun.
And,
For example, what I have in yellow,
and also,
the boy,
her
is a lexical noun
swing.
phrase in
Also
place
was
of using the
doing that,
pronoun he.
that.
My research question is, does an association exist between spontaneous case accuracy and use of subject pronouns in a formal task? Children with lower spontaneous case accuracy will respond to formal assessment items with pronouns less often than children with high spontaneous case accuracy. I'm interested in how the spontaneous data will predict the outcome of the formal data. The visual at the bottom of this slide is just another way to look at my hypothesis. The up arrow and the yellow % case accuracy, they will make, if they have a higher case accuracy, they will make all pronoun attempts, and if they have a lower percentage of case accuracy, then they will have fewer pronoun attempts on the formal assessment. This study uses data from a battery of other tests that include the spontaneous language sample and the formal assessment that I am analyzing. The participants for the original study were 18 at-risk 4-year-olds. In the current study, there are 17 at-risk 4-year-olds included. The spontaneous language sample is 15 minutes long and gave opportunities for the use of subject pronouns by using baby dolls and figurines. Within the subtests of the formal assessment, the CELF, I will be examining 4 subject pronoun items. To be included in this study, the participants had to use a minimum of 5 subject pronouns and complete the word structure subtest on the formal assessment. One child from the original study did not use the minimum amount of pronouns in the spontaneous language sample, so they were excluded from this study. My scoring for the word structure portion of the data for our purposes counts all attempts at a subject pronoun. This includes case errors. If a child uses a lexical noun phrase, that is not counted as an attempt to produce a pronoun. For example, 3 attempts out of 4 opportunities is a 75%. The range of possible values for the word structure scoring is 0 to 100%. To quantify the results of the 15-minute language sample, the total number of case errors a child made was divided by the total amount of third-person subject pronouns to get a percentage of correct case. Now I'm going to show the stimuli used for the formal assessment, followed by an examiner administering formal assessment pronoun items to a participant. On the left side of the screen is the plate that the child would see from the examiner, and on the right side is the accepted responses that the examiner is looking for. Right next to the number is what the examiner asked the child. So the examiner would point at each picture. For the girl, she'd say, "Who is sitting?" "She is sitting." Then the examiner would point to the boy and say, "Who is standing?" And the expected response would be, "He is" or "He is standing." For this next one, the examiner would point to the boy and say, "Who has a hot dog?" "He does." Then she'd point to the girl and say, "Who has a hamburger?" And the expected accepted response would be, "She does." This plate shows two of the subject pronoun items. The first one, the examiner would say, "Look at these children. Who is hot?" Point to the boy on the left. "He is." Who is hungry? The expected response is "She is." Then who is sleepy? The expected response would be "they are" or "he is." Using a lexical noun phrase is considered correct for the expected responses within the CELF, but for my purposes, and because the examiner is saying "he is," that is priming the child to use the adult language, and it would be more felicitous to use a pronoun which is showing stronger grammar. Now I'm going to show you a video of an examiner giving these word structure items to a child that is in this study.
Who has a hot dog? He does. Who has a hamburger?
She does.
Look at these children. Who is hot? He is.
Hot.
Who is hungry?
She is.
Who is sleepy?
He is.
These responses are the responses of the child that was heard on that video. She attempted 4 pronouns, giving her a score of 4 out of 4 for pronoun attempts. If she had said, "The boy is standing," then she would have had a score of 3 out of 4 for pronoun attempts. This is data from the transcription, and to the side of it are sentences pulled from it to demonstrate case errors. This child produced 15 total third-person pronouns and correctly used a subject pronoun in 2 of these contexts, which is less than 100% for the language sample, making this continuous data into categorical for the analysis. Some examples of the case errors and sentences this child made. If a child has a high percent of case accuracy and a high number of attempts, they will fall into the box with 2 yeses. If they have a lower case accuracy and a lower number of attempts, not 4 out of 4, then they will fall into the category of 2 no's. If a child has a high percent of case accuracy and less than 4 out of 4 attempts, they will fall into a yes on the 100% case accuracy and the no of the 4 out of 4 pronouns on the CELF. If a child has a low percent of case accuracy and 4 out of 4 attempts, they will fall into the no on the 100% case accuracy, but they will have 4 out of 4 attempts on the CELF, putting them in the yes category. This is data from the study, and as can be seen from the boxes highlighted in yellow, more children fall into the categories of 2 yeses and 2 nos than falling into a category of a mixed yes and no. This shows that there is an association between having 100% case accuracy on the spontaneous sample and having 4 out of 4 pronoun attempts, or having less than 100% case accuracy on the spontaneous sample, or having lower than 4 out of 4 pronoun attempts. In conclusion, the chi-square shows that an association exists between the spontaneous language sample and the formal assessment data. This brings up the idea that children might avoid producing pronouns if they have weaker grammar. The formal assessment in this study, the CELF, is widely used by speech-language pathologists and makes assumptions about the child's ability, but does not factor in the awareness older children that it is administered to have about being evaluated. Using a spontaneous assessment first, and calculating the percent of accuracy could help clinicians decide if the child's grammar is strong enough for a formal assessment to be an effective evaluation. A logistic regression analysis with the data to look at a different statistical analysis to predict the likelihood and strengthen the results is in the works. Using a logistic regression will allow for the language sample data to be continuous instead of just having two categories of 100% and less than 100%. Turning this less than 100% into continuous data will be achieved by taking the total number of pronouns used and dividing the amount of correct pronouns by the total amount to give a percentage on a continuous scale. I am also planning to present this project at the ASHA National Conference. Thank you for listening to my presentation. If you have any questions, I would be happy to answer them with my contact information listed on this slide. Thank you.